Hello, this is Diesel, We the People News. So I'm not an attorney, so anything I say is just in my opinion. It's a learning video. And I have some interesting things that really came up that interest me. Alright, so on YouTube with Beth, and I'm going to just spell her name so I don't get the name mispronounced, because I cannot pronounce it worth a darn. It's Martens. I know most people could say it easily, I just can't. Okay? There's a couple of favorite people that I follow every so often when I'm not doing other research. One of them, I made a video of a new way of looking at jurisdiction with Cal Washington. And the other one is Alphonse, faggioli, however you pronounce his name. But there are actually two different ways of fighting in court. Alright? One side is legalese, okay? Codes and statutes and all that. And a lot of things he says is correct by codes and statutes. And then you got Cal Washington, which goes by commercial. Okay? And I just thought it was interesting that on her YouTube, and she's in Canada, by the way, how what's the best way of pronouncing this? I know by legalese law, by what Alphonse says, and his last name is going to be Faggiolo. How do we pronounce that last name? Of course, there's going to be a couple of people that I cannot pronounce worth a darn. Anyway, some of you guys may know these, especially Alphonse. He's got his name out there pretty good anymore. The other one, maybe not so much. Let me regroup and say this. Alphonse is a legalese guy. Cal Washington, he's more of a commercial lien type of guy. Notice the liability. Okay? And I know that Alphonse is going to go more by proof in the courts, which is fine and dandy. Cal Washington is going to be on the more of a private side. It's a business private contract thing, right? So it's going to be more of a private, so there's not going to be really codes and statutes on his side. So when they ask, show verifiable proof, well, he can't. It's in a totally different, argument's sake, it's a totally different jurisdiction. Okay, it's the easiest way to put it. One's in commercial lanes and one's in legalese. But they're not one and the same. So you cannot have codes and statutes in commercial lanes in the private as you can in legalese with codes and statutes in the public. So it's going to be really interesting on this meetings of minds, or maybe debates. I don't know how this is going to be, and I know it's supposed to be here pretty quick. I just found out about it. So it's going to be really interesting, and I may make a couple of videos of them too. But my so-called research of these two people, they both have standing. My key part is some of these codes and statutes that Alphonse talks about goes against the Constitution. So really both sides are kind of ignoring the Constitution aspect of everything. We know Congress don't go by the Constitution. Most of these judges don't go by the Constitution. Terry versus Ohio is one, right? It's totally against the Fourth Amendment. You know, the Second Amendment says not to be infringed. But yet now, due to codes and statutes, now we got to ask permission to be able to carry. And they say Constitution carry, but it's not even a Constitution carry. So the states are not going by the Constitution. The federal government's not going by the Constitution. You got these people arguing, or I can't even say argue, but debating commercial and codes and statutes. But both sides is kind of going like ignoring really the Constitution aspect of it. Both the courts is going on one side or the other, and everybody in general is ignoring the Constitution. And over a period of time, you know, this has been going back way back, you know, and I can't think of you know, back in the slavery days, you know, the Supreme Courts, we're all going by Supreme Court opinions and not even rulings. And they say, you know, dark gentlemen, dark men and women was 1/5 of a man. Well, that's not even accurate. But yet, the courts said it. And then everybody wants to bank on Supreme Courts. Right then and there, they should have been kicked out off the bench. And yes, they don't have lifetime appointment. They have to act in honor in order to stay in there. They can be impeached. But none of the judges ever been impeached. I wonder why. Because it played into the favor of the political side of the government to be able to confiscate the rights, the inalienable rights of the people. And that's what codes and statutes are doing. Codes or statutes are impeding in our inalienable rights and say you must give up your right for stuff. So this is going to be interesting, whether it's an argument, whether it's debate, whether it's meetings of the minds, or what. So I'm really excited about these two talking because they're really good at what they do. Now, I'm going to say this, all right, codes and statutes, Alphonse is going to be ahead by money. He could probably win some money by suing, you know, towns and cities and counties and all that. When Cal Washington goes after him by commercial, let's just say he'll go after him in commercial liens of, you know, $20 million. He always goes by $300 million, but he's in generally not going after him for the money itself, but as for to put them back in place. And if you don't want to be back in place, quit, leave. I'm forcing you to leave. And so judges run off the bench, they retire, this people retire, this people retire, these people retire, and all that kind of stuff. And I per se don't have a problem with that. If you're not going to act honorable, then you don't need to be in there. I don't think, and this is the problem I have with Alphonse area, most people pay taxes at this day and time because they think they're obligated. But once you listen to Alphonse, codes and statutes actually says, no, you don't have to pay taxes. But Washington would be more of saying, hey, you're paying taxes because of tacit agreement. So you say nothing means you're saying yes. I agree to your terms. So the county says, well, you owe taxes. Well, then you go pay your taxes. What you did is tacit agreement. You didn't challenge them. You agreed that you owe these taxes. Alphonse itself saying that, basically silence the acquiescence, so when they send paperwork, if you don't challenge it, you're paying taxes. So both sides saying you're paying taxes because both sides are saying you're accepting that you owe it. They just have different approaches. One's going to cost the taxpayers as taxpayers now. The other one is making the individual responsible. He's making the judge responsible in his personal capacity, right? As a man or a woman, however you want to look at it. All right? Qualified immunity for the officers, right? In codes and statutes. Well, it goes back into townships has got to pay for this. Not the officers because of qualified immunity. Well, on the commercial lanes is a private. So you're going after them on a man-to-man level, a man-to-woman level. All right? And you're going to go in them with a non-judicial court. Alphonse is going in with a judicial court. All right? So in a non-judicial court, you cannot have an attorney. Both sides don't have an attorney. And you're going to have to be responsible for your actions. And if you ignore these warnings, the notices, then you tacit agree, tacit, T-A-C-I-T, tacit agreement with him. All right? And since you didn't respond, well, since you didn't respond, that means you agreed to the terms. So he would go with going after, let's just say, judge. Well, now the judge agreed that he's going to owe $50 million, or the cop is going to owe $50 million. So now you start putting liens on them, and whether it's fair or not, that's debatable. Silent acquiescence means, you agreed to them without answering. Tacit agreement is you agreeing with them without answering. So both sides has got this trickery of words. So it's going to be an interesting conversation between the two for sure. I can't wait because I really do like them both. And I'm kind of running off with the mouth right now. I just, once again, just really excited about it. And I didn't even know I would get this excited about it when I heard about it. But it is what it is, and I'm really interested in finding out what it is. Okay? I do know Washington and Beth did get a website. So if you go with Beth YouTube channel, which is Beth Martens, how do we pronounce that name, from Canada, they actually started up a family court thing. Now, people that's been in family court knows the family court is really dishonorable courts. And then you got some towns that's really worse than others. And even by federal law, which is mostly what it is, the 4D specifically says that there must be a contract, because y'all, there is no law saying you have to pay child support. The law does not exist. So even with Alphonse deal, even when he goes by legalese, he would have to bring up, wait a minute, there is no law. Well, even on notice of liability, there is no law. So even in the private or in the commercial terms, you can still use the codes that Alphonse is using to win your case on the commercial side, as well as you can with the legal side. This is going to be into y'all's opinion sides, right? The only thing I do know beyond shadow of doubt is the Constitution is just about wiped out. And our common law pretty much don't even exist. So they say everybody needs codes and statutes to define everything. Well, our Founding Father says that if it's not written in the Constitution, then it stands for the people. Alright? Well, nowhere does it say U.S. citizens in the Constitution. Okay? But the reason why I don't say U.S. citizens, because you're not a U.S. citizen. You are a state citizen. Alright? You don't belong to the union, you belong to the state belongs to the union. That's the reason why U.S. citizen does not exist in the Constitution. But, you know, if it's not in the Constitution, then it's the freedom of the people. But the codes and statutes and all they're doing is they're nitpicking at everything and taking away your right of freedom, because now they got a code to a law that did not exist in the Constitution to take your freedom away, when the Founding Father says no, that is left to the people. If it's not written, it's left to the people. Codes and statutes contradicts itself with the Constitution. Well, there's disruptions right there. There's conflict. So even codes and statutes cannot conflict against the Constitution, and yet we keep letting it happen. Why? Because the government officials do not listen to the people. And you cannot sue the government. However, you can put them in a commercial lien, because when they changed it in 1871 and then actually blank codified it in 2005, I believe it was, that Title 28 USC 3002 15 Section A says it's a corporation. It put itself in a business. It is a commercial. It's a business. So you can actually use what Kyle Washington is saying on commercial liens to the federal government, to each and every individual in Congress. Wait a minute. So you're saying I'm not allowed to bear arms? Well, now you can go after them with the notice of liability. I mean, it takes people working together to do this, you know. Just like law, commercial, same thing. Commercial liens, they're just going to ignore you. You start confiscating their house and all that, all they do is going to get pissed off and all that kind of stuff. You may go to jail, may not, I don't know. Codes and statutes, same way. You may or may not go to jail. It takes a group of people to work together and get on one page and have the meetings in the minds and say, hey, enough is enough. Let's get back to the basics of the original intent of the Constitution and quit tearing it up. It is not a living document. Alright? Social contract. I didn't sign no contract. I had agreed to any type of government to rule over me. I didn't agree to no kings or Congress or anything like that. That's the reason why we had the Constitution. The Constitution tells the government they cannot trespass upon we the people without just cause. These are We the People News. Bye, y'all.